This week, hashtag trending has been sponsored by Elisa, A Tale of Quantum Kisses. And to those of you who are buying and listening to the audiobook version of this sci-fi action adventure and love story, I'm humbled, and I thank you for your support. To those who haven't yet got a copy, it's on Audible, Amazon, Kobo for Canadians, Barnes & Noble, everywhere you find talking books. You can even ask for it at your library. Just look for Elisa, E-L-I-S-A, and Jim Love. You can search for it on Amazon. You can Google it. And now, back to our regularly scheduled programming. Sam Altman agrees on a new definition of AGI. Google's Android for PC is real. Windows 10 gets a stay of execution, but in Europe only. Commodore 64 has made a big comeback. And Bill Gates reminds us how Indian engineers helped launch Microsoft. Welcome to Hashtag Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. Let's get into it. Alan Turing gave us the first benchmark for machine intelligence. If a computer could fool a person into thinking it was human, we would call it artificial intelligence, or as we've come to use the term, artificial general intelligence. ChatGPT and its cousins have already blown far past that barrier, which is why the goalposts have kept moving. OpenAI's deal with Microsoft, when they have to stop sharing their IP with Microsoft, depends on when they reach artificial general intelligence, and they've defined that using revenue. It's a neat trick for accountants, but it's hardly satisfying for scientists and most of us. But this week in Berlin, Sam Altman may have stumbled into something much more meaningful. At Axel Springer's headquarters, that's Business Insider's parent company, Altman was on stage to accept an award and chat about his favorite book, The Beginning of Infinity, by British physicist David Deutsch. Without warning, the organizers patched Deutsch in live from Oxford. Altman, clearly delighted, suddenly found himself in conversation with the man who inspired him. Deutsch, a pioneer of quantum computing and a philosopher of science, wasted no time drawing a line in the sand. ChatGPT can hold a conversation, he said, but that's mimicry, not intelligence. In fact, Deutsch admitted he once thought no computer could converse at all without being an AGI. ChatGPT proved me wrong, he told Altman. For him, genuine intelligence, though, is the ability to create knowledge, to find problems, invent solutions, and test them. Deutsch said, "We know Einstein created relativity because we know what problem he was addressing and why." So Altman took the opportunity to press him. What if a future AI explained quantum gravity, the missing piece in physics? Would that count? Deutsch said yes. And just like that, the two have defined the new Turing test. Not whether a machine can talk like us, but whether it can imagine and discover like us. For years, the idea of one operating system running seamlessly across phones and PCs has been just that, an idea. There have been some rudimentary tries at it, but now Google seems to be closer to making that a reality. At Qualcomm's Snapdragon Summit, Google's devices chief Rick Osterloh said the company is building a unified technical foundation for Android and Chrome OS. The goal is a single platform that works smoothly across mobile and top systems. Qualcomm CEO Cristiano Amon told the audience he's seen early work on the project. He described it as incredible. He says it delivers on the vision of convergence of mobile and PC. And while no details were shared, his comments suggest Google already has a prototype in place. Osterloh added that the new system will integrate Google's Gemini AI stack along with Android apps and developer tools. Apple is reportedly pursuing a similar strategy. But if Google does have a prototype ready, it might be further along in bringing unified computing to market. I've got some good news and some bad news about Windows 10. The good news is that Windows 10 users are getting an extra year of free security updates. The bad news? Microsoft is only offering it in Europe. The company announced it will extend support until October 2026 for users in the European Economic Area and Switzerland, after pressure from consumer advocates and regulators. Everywhere else, including North America, customers will still need to pay for extended security updates or upgrades to Windows 11 once support officially ends in October 2025. Now, this is no small issue. Globally, Windows 10 still accounts for somewhere around 45 to 50% of desktop installations, and in Europe, the share might be closer to somewhere around 53%, according to StatsCounter. That translates into hundreds of millions of PCs that will soon face a choice: upgrade, pay, or run without protection. And the debate isn't just about reluctance or cost. Windows' stricter hardware requirements mean many functioning devices can't make the leap. Scrapping them risks creating a surge of electronic waste, devices full of rare earth metals and plastics, and with real environmental costs. Just a reminder for those of us in North America, sometimes government regulation ain't such a bad thing. The Commodore brand is back and finding an audience. My brother had a Commodore 64 and he loved it, and he still talks about it. The Commodore 64 Ultimate, launched in mid-July, has already sold more than 10,000 units. That's a strong debut for the company's first new hardware release in over 30 years. Inside, the machine is FPGA-based, that's Field Programmable Gate Array, essentially a reconfigurable chip that can be programmed to act like the original C64's hardware. It's built around an AMD processor and aims for near-perfect compatibility with classic C64 games and peripherals. It ships with 128 megabytes of RAM, modern ports like HDMI and USB, plus legacy cartridge and audio connectors. The system even includes Wi-Fi and a turbo mode for running certain software faster. On the software side, it boots into the familiar C64 basic environment and also includes GEOS, the graphical operating system that once turned the 8-bit computer into a productivity machine. The company says it plans a steady roadmap of new releases with up to a dozen products slated over the next 4 years. In the midst of renewed tension about H-1B visas and foreign workers, a video from 2024 has gone viral. In a speech at IIT Delhi, Bill Gates recalled hiring 15 Indian engineers early in Microsoft's history, crediting them with a major contribution to the company's rise. Gates said those engineers joined when Microsoft was still modest in size and argued that their talents helped shape its foundation. In other words, their contribution was phenomenal. Why this matters now? U.S. policy changes are placing steep new costs on companies seeking H-1B visas and bringing foreign workers into the U.S. to work. There's now a $100,000 application fee for the new H-1B visas, and it's drawing a bit of a backlash from tech firms and immigrant communities alike, especially in India, which is the top source of H-1B holders. Critics on one side argue expensive visas protect local jobs. But Bill Gates' example is a reminder global talent has been instrumental to U.S. innovation, even at Microsoft. And as politics and protectionism rise, stories like this underscore talent doesn't really have borders. And that's our show. Once again, my sincere thanks to each and every one of you that are helping make the launch of Elisa, the audiobook, such a success. If you like it though, please post a review. It helps. And if you haven't checked it out, I've gotten some really great feedback. You might like it. And if you like this show, you might like the narrator. It's me. It's Elisa, Elisa. Get it on Audible, Amazon, Kobo, or just Google it to find dozens of other places to purchase it. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a fabulous Friday. And if you haven't had your fill of AI, join us for Project Synapse on the weekend.